I have not had an opportunity. I've been in meetings all morning, so I haven't even seen. All I know is that he was found guilty, but I think that's appropriate.
But, Mr. Speaker, you have been saying two-tier system of justice for some time. Here's the president's son being convicted on 3 counts. Doesn't that undercut your claims?
It doesn't. Every case is different, and clearly the evidence was overwhelming here. I don't think that's the case in the Trump trials, and all the charges that have been brought against him have been obviously brought for political purposes. Hunter Biden is a separate instance.
Hunter Biden has been convicted on all 3 of the federal felony gun charges he's faced, so conservatives are spinning it in every direction that they can. Speaker Johnson has been twirling since it began, so his answer was ready to go days ago.
Hunter Biden, the president's only surviving son, is being criminally prosecuted right now. Given that, do you think that that's proof that there is not a double standard, as you say, in the criminal justice system?
No, I don't think one case proves that at all. We have rogue prosecutors around the country that have drugged President Trump through this process because of who he is. Everybody knows if it wasn't him, the charges in Manhattan would never have been brought, and they would not be dragging this out as they are and seeking potentially prison term and all of that. Everybody acknowledges that. Legal experts on both sides of the aisle acknowledge that. Look, it doesn't matter what they do to orchestrate or try to put window dressing on this. The American people can see right through it. The American people are intelligent, and they understand intuitively what's happening here, and they see a two-tiered system, and they see that President Trump is being targeted for who he is.
Before the ruling even came down, Johnson knew the only play that MAGA Republicans have is to dismiss the case altogether so that they can claim it's a distraction if he was convicted and confirmation if he wasn't. Jesse Waters broke down their entire strategy like a cartoon villain, detailing their plans days before the verdict even happened.
I'd say if it was guilty or not guilty, there's going to be challenges for the Biden campaign. If it's guilty, then that partially defangs the line of attack that Trump's a convicted felon. I'd say partially because, yeah, Hunter's not running for president, but to just casually throw around that label against your opponent when the first son wears the same label seems boneheaded.
Spin strategy number 1. If he's convicted, they say, you can't call Trump a convicted felon because then we can turn around and call Hunter one, hoping that that'll stop the pain of being reminded that they worship a felon, which is a harder sell to convince people to support him.
If you get a not guilty, then that feeds into the Trump, I'm running against a rigged system. The way the Comey situation did in the summer of 2016, where it was throwing out immunity deals to Hillary's team like party favors and just let her off with a slap on the wrist and just showed that Trump was the victim of a rigged system and needed to get into D.C. and clean house. This will prove, if it is a not guilty, that there was home cooking in both of these trials. In New York, you get a Democrat jury who, I don't know, through legal black magic invented a crime and then convicted. And then you'd have a Delaware jury do the same thing. While this is basically black and white, both juries would then be actively interfering in an election.
Spin strategy number 2. If not guilty, which most of them are now disappointed didn't happen because they could have been able to say, see, the system is rigged and controlled by the Bidens to find Trump guilty and Hunter not guilty. That's the one that they felt could generate enough outrage to get more voters on their side. Either way, the purpose was always for political spin to help Trump, not respect for any legal proceedings. Let's look at how well MAGA land followed the strategy, starting with Trump's campaign spokesperson.
Many on the left, they're now saying that the verdict is proof President Joe Biden has not weaponized the Justice Department against his enemies. On the other hand, Republicans, they strongly disagree, saying this case is misdirection to avoid going after Hunter for more serious charges of being an unregistered foreign agent. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree that this entire trial has been a major distraction from the real crimes of the corrupt Biden crime family. This gun trial has been a major sideshow from the Department of Justice to distract from those real crimes and to dupe the American people into believing we have an equal system under law. We absolutely do not. And if we did, President Trump would never have been charged with the crimes that all of these Democrat prosecutors across the country are bringing against him.
It's really easy to criticize their spin, but to be fair, it really is the only play that they have left to try to lift the stench of their candidate's criminality on the eyes of voters. They wouldn't have had to go down the absurd route of claiming the entire American judicial system from top to bottom is controlled by Joe Biden if they didn't remain loyal to a criminal. But predictable absurdity has never stopped MAGA from diving right in.
So Hunter Biden was convicted. Big frickin' deal. This trial was a sham. Just like the Trump trial, it was a sham, but a sham for a different reason. It's a sham designed to legitimize the Trump conviction. That's why it came right after, even for charges that date way far back. But it also avoids accountability for the Biden crime family on the actual things that Hunter Biden should have been charged for. Like, for example, peddling foreign influence while his actual father, Joe Biden, was the vice president of the United States. Hunter had no business serving on the board of a Ukrainian energy company, a state-affiliated energy company that's affiliated with the same country, Ukraine, that his father, now as the U.S. president, is sending hundreds of billions of dollars of your taxpayer money to. That's where the real crimes lie. So this deflects accountability for the actual investigations that are more close to implicating Joe Biden, while coming in convenient timing right after the sham Trump conviction in the veil of bipartisanship. Don't buy it. I said this before, I'll say it again. This is a smokescreen.
Keep calculating, Vivek. Keep calculating. But you can slow down because Jesse already told us that the plan is to call it a farce and then pivot to claim that the real crime of the Biden crime family is selling influence overseas, and now it's being covered up. You know, that whole investigation that James Comer and Jim Jordan have been chasing for over a year now with no evidence to show for it. Let's see if Waters approves of your recitation of the plan.
I actually think this particular trial and conviction is a bit of a farce. It's a bit of a feigned retreat. Note the timing. It came right after the Trump trial and the Trump verdict. The purpose of this is in the public eye to actually legitimize the Trump conviction. It's also designed to deflect attention away from what they should actually be going after the Biden family for, which is selling off our foreign policy to make their family rich in places like Ukraine, where Hunter Biden has absolutely no business serving on the board of Burisma, a state-affiliated energy company, which happens to be the same country that we're now sending $200 billion of American taxpayer money to. So that's what this is about, is it's a bit of a deflection, all against the backdrop that these are federal charges when his father is the sitting president of the United States who can absolutely pardon those actual convictions. So we should not fall for that trick, and I think that's what this is really about.
He originally forgot the part about how he knows that Joe Biden will come in later to pardon Hunter of his crimes, as if Donald Trump didn't pardon Steve Bannon for conning MAGA supporters in his name. Isn't it weird that the test to determine whether or not you get to be in Donald Trump's dictatorial administration is to present your best conspiracy theory that's designed to help him avoid any accountability?
I mean, first of all, the evidence in this case was overwhelming. I think everybody saw that. Hunter Biden, obviously, you know, he was on drugs, and it's a sad thing for anybody to have to go through, but he did that, and he lied on a federal form. I think the overarching thing to take from this is that the Biden family has been involved in a lot of crimes. They've been involved in a lot of things that are highly unethical when Joe Biden has used his power in various positions in our government. And I believe this November, the American people are going to send Joe Biden home so the Biden family cannot take advantage of the American government again, so they can raise and get millions of dollars overseas from businesses, and they can break our laws with impunity and with no repercussions.
Okay, not as energetic as Vivek, but at least Byron added some fake sympathy for Hunter being a drug addict before diving into the script about how this is indicative of the litany of crimes that they can't come up with any evidence of. So it kind of hits a dead end if the law offices of Comer and Jordan keep stumbling around on TV.
The real questions need to be asked. I think the most revealing thing out of this trial was the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. It wasn't a Russian information operation. That was completely phony. That was corrupt of those 51 intelligence officials to say that. But what's really being protected here is what did Hunter Biden, what did the Biden family, the crime family do that had any value to get millions of dollars paid by these countries adversarial to the U.S.? It's obvious that is what the Biden administration has been avoiding having to confront. That reality. They did nothing. All they were doing was selling influence because Joe Biden was vice president, then he became president. So that is the corruption. That is what puts at risk our national security. That's what Joe Biden wants to keep hidden forever.
Now, Ron Johnson decided to take the route of acting like their evidence-free investigation into the president actually resulted in proof that they sold influence to American adversaries and just ran with it like it was factual. It might be the best approach, considering the number of things that MAGA supporters have believed without a shred of evidence to back it up. All of these desperate stories just to save a con man's ass from the law. Jeanine Pirro is the only person that didn't check her messages to learn that they weren't supposed to be happy about the results, no matter what the conclusion was.
It just shows you that the defense was all smoke and mirrors in this thing. And everything from, the family sitting in the front row and that intimidation factor, starting with jury selection, which was so bizarre. And, maybe he was an alcoholic, maybe he wasn't a drug addict. All of that stuff, the jury just didn't buy it. They did it in record time, and they did it based upon the evidence and the law. And make no mistake, they had the defendant's voice, as I've said before, bellowing throughout the courthouse, the courtroom. They had the laptop. They had the Biden women who had to come in and talk about the reality of what it was like being with Hunter Biden. So this jury didn't buy the nonsense. I'm surprised that Abby Lowell did it.
Not sure how long until she takes it back and says it was all a farce in order to keep that propaganda train running. They're panicking because this book of conspiracies that the MAGA movement is writing might be getting a little bit too long and detailed for anyone that's not just a blind loyalist to believe. That's why I think Democrats don't need to say much, anything more than the legal system worked and we wish Hunter the best in his recovery. No need to openly point out how crazy they're acting over their guy facing consequences, because the more you let them spin, the more outrageous the multiple conclusions will be to anyone that's paying attention.
My Republican friends have gone on and on about how Democrats have weaponized the DOJ. But their conspiracy theories crumbled this morning when Hunter Biden, the son of the president, was found guilty in a federal court on 3 gun-related charges. When Donald Trump was convicted, we saw an immediate reaction from Republican leaders. It was like within seconds that this trial is a sham, the judge is corrupt, the jury is rigged, and the contrast today is just staggering. Apparently, when a Republican is convicted, it's weaponization. But when a Democrat is convicted, the president's son, no less, that's justice. I mean, give me a break. Hunter Biden was found guilty by a jury of his peers, just like Donald Trump, because this is our justice system at work. The divide here is stunning, and it's a great reminder that one political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't.
What would Republicans point to as a two-tiered system of justice when the president's son was just convicted of a crime? I mean, if anything, this shows the difference that Democrats are willing to accept when our justice system works as functioned and as designed. We're not here contesting the results. We're not here trying to defund the FBI or the Department of Justice because we don't like the outcome of a given trial.